Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talk Tickers. Ready for another deep dive. This time, we're breaking down Organigram's Q4 and full year fiscal 2024 earnings call.
Definitely a big one. And their performance this year, it really stands out, especially in such a challenging cannabis market.
It's like they found a secret formula for success while everyone else is struggling.
It's not magic, though. It's about smart strategies and execution.
Exactly. For our listeners tuning in for the first time, Talk Tickers is your go-to for dissecting those complex earnings calls, getting to the heart of what really matters.
We cut through the noise and give you the insights you need to understand what's happening in the cannabis industry and what it means for investors.
Exactly. So let's set the stage. Organigram, they just had an incredible year.
4 consecutive quarters of revenue growth.
Not to mention a 55% increase in adjusted EBITDA year over year.
And get this, they snagged the #2 market share position in Canada before acquiring Motif.
Which, as we all know, launched them straight to the top spot.
Seemed like they were playing a different game entirely.
Speaking of Motif, that acquisition was a major power move.
Massive, brought in a whopping $86 million in net revenue, pushing Organigram's pro forma revenue close to $250 million.
And Motif's specialty, vapes and infused pre-rolls, high-growth segments. Organigram was smart to add those to their portfolio.
It wasn't just about getting bigger, it was about strategic synergy.
You're right. Motif brought in operational efficiencies and valuable assets, creating a true powerhouse.
A force to be reckoned with.
But acquisitions weren't their only win. Organigram also stepped up their operational game big time.
Record-breaking flower harvests in Q4. We're talking over 23,000 kilograms.
Wow, and they're not just growing more, they're growing better.
Yields per plant, steadily increasing, which means lower production costs. They've embraced innovative cultivation techniques like seed-based growing.
Seed-based growing. It's like trading in those expensive seedlings for a packet of seeds, saving money and gaining more control.
Exactly. And on top of that, they've been optimizing their energy usage. Good for the environment, good for the bottom line.
Sustainability is a big deal these days. Consumers care about that. Speaking of what consumers care about, let's talk brand power.
Organigram's flagship brand, SHRE, raked in over $225 million in retail sales.
And with the Motif acquisition, they got BSHOT, another leading brand with $158 million in sales.
2 heavy hitters, serious consumer appeal.
Like a 1-2 punch. Now let's talk numbers. In Q4, a 10% sequential increase in net revenue.
And a 22% year-over-year increase.
Adjusted gross margin, an impressive 37%.
Their net loss also decreased significantly compared to last year.
Plus, they're sitting on a healthy cash position of $133.4 million, which got even bigger after the Motif acquisition.
The numbers speak for themselves. Organigram is thriving, not just surviving.
So we got the highlights. Now let's dig deeper. Their international expansion strategy really caught my eye.
Strategic is the key word here. They're making calculated moves. Shipped their first flower to Germany and the UK, and they've inked new supply agreements in Australia and the UK.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket. Smart move.
Diversification is key in this volatile market. And these markets, they're all about growth, especially as regulations evolve.
It's like planting seeds in fertile ground, waiting for the right time to bloom.
Exactly. And let's not forget that game-changing investment from British American Tobacco, BAT, back in Q1.
Ah, the BAT deal. That $124.6 million investment was a huge show of confidence, and it fueled Organigram's $83 million Jupiter Fund dedicated to global cannabis opportunities.
This partnership, it goes beyond just money. It's strategic. BDT brings a wealth of experience to the table.
Like having a seasoned mentor guiding them through the global marketplace.
Exactly. And Organigram's own innovation, don't overlook that. Their fast-emulsion technology developed with BT, it's revolutionary.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. FAST, it stands for faster onset, superior taste, and higher effect.
Faster absorption, more consistent experience for consumers. It's a game changer.
Especially for edibles. Imagine edibles kicking in within minutes instead of hours. Organigram is at the forefront of this innovation.
And it positions them perfectly for the U.S. hemp Delta 9 market, a rapidly growing segment.
It's like they've unlocked a secret weapon for market domination.
It's all about strategy and execution, and Organigram, they're doing it right. Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We just dove deep into Organigram's stellar year.
And now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty, the Q&A portion of their earnings call.
This is where the real insights come out. Analysts get to grill the management team, ask the tough questions.
It's like peeking behind the curtain and seeing how the magic happens.
Exactly. And the analysts on this call didn't hold back. They had some pointed questions about international expansion, the U.S. market, the integration of Motif, and the upcoming Canadian election.
Let's start with the international front. One analyst asked about the risks of increased competition in those markets, leading to price compression.
Makes sense. A lot of Canadian LPs are looking overseas for growth.
Right. But Organigram's CEO, Beena Goldenberg, she emphasized their strategic approach.
You're being selective.
Absolutely. They're not just chasing every opportunity. They're carefully choosing markets where they see strong demand
Where they can actually make money.
and where the regulatory environment aligns with their strategy. It's not just about growth, it's about sustainable growth.
Smart move. Now, what about that U.S. market? Everyone's wondering about that. One analyst asked why they seem hesitant to jump into plant-touching THC assets there, especially with some competitors diving in headfirst.
Yeah, it's a big question. Goldenberg, she clarified that they're not ruling out plant-touching THC opportunities completely.
But for now,
They see the hemp-derived Delta-9 market as a more immediate, less risky way to enter the U.S. market.
smart, considering the regulatory maze down there.
Exactly, and their fast-emulsion technology. It gives them a real edge in that rapidly growing hemp Delta-9 market.
Speaking of Motif, analysts wanted to know how Organigram plans to integrate Motif's operations and brands smoothly, seamlessly.
Goldenberg outlined some key areas where they see potential for synergy. Think cost savings in extraction, warehousing, logistics,
Streamlining the whole operation.
and they plan to leverage each other's strengths in different regions, expanding their market reach.
So it's not just adding brands to the mix.
It's about optimization.
Efficiency.
And let's not forget the combined brand power, SHRLA and Box H Ot,
Two powerhouse brands.
giving them massive consumer appeal and a strong presence across different product categories.
Speaking of potential shakeups, what about the Canadian election? One analyst brought up the Conservatives and their stance on cannabis.
Yeah, it's a big question mark. Goldenberg acknowledged that the Conservatives haven't always been as supportive of the cannabis industry as the Liberals have been.
That's putting it mildly.
But she emphasized that they're actively engaging with the Conservatives, highlighting the industry's economic contributions.
Making their case.
Exactly. And advocating for policies that support growth. Interestingly, she pointed out that the Liberals, despite legalizing cannabis, haven't addressed key issues like the excise tax structure.
Which has been a real drag on the industry.
So there's hope that a potential conservative government might be open to making some positive changes.
Fingers crossed. Now, let's get into some of the specific questions. One analyst was curious about the feedback on their fast-emulsion technology.
How are consumers reacting to it?
That's the million-dollar question. Tim Emberg, their chief commercial officer, he chimed in and said it's still early days.
But so far,
The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive.
that's what we like to hear. What are consumers saying?
Emberg mentioned strong interest from retailers and provincial boards. Consumers love the faster onset and more potent effects.
It's hitting the spot, so to speak.
Exactly. And Goldenberg added that they're looking at leveraging fast in other markets, specifically the U.S. hemp-derived Delta-9 market.
Smart move. That market is ripe for innovation. Another analyst asked about their outlook for the Canadian cannabis market in 2025. What's the crystal ball saying?
What do they see on the horizon?
Goldenberg, she predicted modest growth for the overall market. But she's confident in Organigram's ability to outpace the market.
Through their operational efficiency
Their brand building,
and their strategic acquisitions.
they're not just along for the ride.
They're in the driver's seat.
And she believes the Canadian market is becoming more rational. Provincial boards are focusing on high-performing products.
And consumers. They're demanding quality.
They're becoming more discerning. Now, let's circle back to Germany. One analyst expressed concerns about potential regulatory delays, especially with the government's plans for a retail model for cannabis sales.
Those delays could be a real setback.
Potentially. But Goldenberg, she emphasized that the German market is already booming, driven by medical cannabis.
So even with delays, they're still in a good position.
Exactly. And Germany, compared to countries like Israel and Australia, they have a much lower penetration of medical cannabis patients.
Meaning,
Huge growth potential,
even without
recreational sales. Another analyst asked about their adjusted EBITDA margin performance in Q4 and what they expect for fiscal year 2025.
the numbers everyone's watching.
Greg Guyot, their CFO, he was happy with the strong EBITDA margin improvement in Q4.
Driven by higher sales, better margins, and lower operating expenses.
Getting all the right notes.
And he expects their adjusted EBITDA to be even higher in fiscal year 2025.
With stable operating expenses and continued margin improvement.
Sounds promising. They're also targeting gross margins above 35% and positive adjusted EBITDA in most reporting periods moving forward.
Ambitious goals, but they seem to be on track.
They're aiming for consistent, sustainable financial performance.
No more roller coaster ride. This Q&A session, it was like a masterclass in how to build a successful cannabis business. Organigram's management team was transparent, they were articulate, and they were confident.
They have a plan, and they're executing it.
They're not just reacting to the market, they're shaping the industry.
Through innovation, operational excellence, and strategic partnerships.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's highlight some key takeaways from this Q&A.
What stood out to you?
Their strategic approach to international expansion. They're not jumping at every opportunity, they're being selective.
Choosing their battles wisely.
And they're not afraid to make bold moves, like the Motif acquisition. But they're also being cautious and strategic about certain markets, like the U.S.
Recognizing the challenges.
Exactly. And their commitment to innovation is inspiring. The fast-emulsion technology is a game changer. I'm excited to see where they take it.
It's a real differentiator. And their focus on operational efficiency and cost management, can't overlook that. They're building a solid foundation for the future.
They're in it for the long haul.
And their willingness to engage with policymakers. That's crucial for the industry's long-term success.
They're not just sitting on the sidelines, they're actively shaping the regulatory landscape.
Overall, this Q&A session painted a very positive picture of Organigram.
They have a clear vision, a strong leadership team, and a solid plan.
They're a company to watch. Now, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Organigram's earnings call and share our final thoughts. Stay tuned for the grand finale.
Welcome back to Talk Tickers. We've explored Organigram's incredible performance, their Q4 and full fiscal year 2024.
Record harvests, strategic acquisitions, international expansion, they've done it all.
Now let's take a step back and look at the big picture. What are the key takeaways? What does Organigram's success story tell us about the cannabis industry as a whole?
First and foremost, Organigram is proving that you can make money in this sector, real money. Their revenue growth, their expanding margins, their cost management, it's all top-notch.
They're not just growing for the sake of growth. They're building a sustainable, profitable business. That's what sets them apart in an industry that's often been all hype and speculation.
Right. And let's talk about those strategic acquisitions, especially the Motif deal. That was a game changer.
It really was. They cemented their leadership in Canada, added those high-growth product segments, and found some serious cost savings along the way.
It's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. They're thinking several steps ahead.
Exactly. They're not just getting bigger, they're getting smarter.
And their international expansion strategy. It's well-defined, ambitious, and incredibly promising. They're targeting the right markets. Markets with strong demand and regulations that make sense.
They're going global. And that EU GMP certification, it's a big deal. Opens doors to new markets, allows them to command premium pricing.
Speaking of advantages, their partnership with British American Tobacco, that's huge. BAT brings a wealth of experience to the table in consumer goods, R&D, global distribution.
It's like having a global giant in your corner, guiding you through the complexities of international business.
And Organigram's own innovation, let's not forget that. The fast-emulsion technology, it's a prime example. They're offering something truly new and exciting to consumers.
They're not just following trends, they're setting them. But of course, every business faces challenges. Regulatory uncertainty is still a big one, both in Canada and globally.
Absolutely. The excise tax structure in Canada, it's a burden. And the pace of legalization in other countries is anyone's guess.
In competition, it's only going to get fiercer as more players enter the market.
Organigram needs to keep innovating, keep differentiating themselves.
They can't rest on their laurels. And while their financials look strong, they're still working towards that consistent profitability.
Right, sustainable profitability, that's the key.
It's the golden ticket to long-term success in this industry. So what's the bottom line for our listeners? Organigram, it's a well-managed, financially solid company with a clear vision. They're executing on their plans, exceeding expectations, and frankly, raising the bar for the entire cannabis industry.
They're not just riding the wave, they're shaping the future of cannabis. Their acquisitions, their innovation, their global reach, it all points to a bright future.
They're a company to watch, that's for sure. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, it's time for our This Is Not Financial Advice segment. where we throw out a fun, crazy, but maybe, just maybe, plausible trade idea.
All right, so with their aggressive growth strategy and that Canadian election looming, I'm thinking long-term call option play on their stock could be interesting. If we see any positive shifts in cannabis policy, that stock could take off.
Ooh, I like the way you think. But remember, everyone, this is pure speculation, not financial advice. Do your own research, talk to a professional, and don't invest anything you can't afford to lose.
Always wise words. Make sure you understand the risks involved before making any investment decisions.
All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Organigram's earnings call. They're definitely a force to be reckoned with in the cannabis industry, and we'll be watching closely to see what they do next.
Thanks for tuning in to Talk Tickers. It's been a pleasure breaking down this fascinating company with you all.
That's a wrap for us. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and happy investing.